One of the major mandates of our evergreen programming is to highlight and explore the works of as many teams contributing to the creation of our universe as possible. And on this continuing road to Alpha 323, 4.0, and beyond, we periodically detour onto the proverbial side streets, if you would, and dedicate some time to those aspects you might not discover following the development of any other game. So on this week's show, I'm proud to highlight a team dedicated to bringing a creative flourish, visual consistency, and contextual meaning to the various companies, factions, and societies of the persistent universe, the branding team from CIG Montreal. Hell yeah, let's go.
All right, where to start? I joined the team in January, about 2 years ago it was. I was coming in from an experience at another company where I had set up the first branding team for a video game, which was a really interesting experience. So when I heard about the opportunity to do it for Star Citizen and build a branding team for a project like that was something that is, you don't want to pass up on. When I stepped into the first few months doing, a bit of a due diligence, looking at the state of what we have in the game already in terms of branding, logos, the different manufacturers and all the brands, the factions, 10 years worth of material being put into the game, often being done by, different artists or different parties and for different reasons also, There was just a wide variety of styles. There would be a lot of different interpretations for a single brand. And that was something that I noticed right away and that I wanted to tackle as soon as I joined the team, is to try and bring a unifying vision, a bit more consistency to, just help support the Star Citizen narrative, also to augment greatly in terms of immersion. And that was something that I noticed right away and that I wanted to tackle as soon as I joined the team. In-game branding is not only about defining, creating logos and nice posters and cute little signs. We get involved with character design, the ships, creating the manufacturers for the ships. We touch marketing, we touch web. It's just such a wide range of different applications and topics that we go through.
I think it's as important as any other parts of the game.
It creates brand cohesion and a really good immersion for the player.
If it comes to, obviously brands and logos, if it's a ship, make it look real professional, like it's a, like in real life, like a fancy car company or something like that,
Well, branding is an important part of the environment development. Developing the locations, I think it helps a lot with immersion. One of the things that we've tackled recently is some navigational signage for the landing zone. So, putting up maps, putting up signage, different assets that we add to the game to help the player understand his environment, understand the gameplay, understand the locations, the story, the narrative.
It adds a visual component to the narrative to create a more impactful story. So you have the brand, the narrative that people know, but then with the visuals, we can add an extra layer to it.
In Star Citizen, especially for the manufacturers, everything revolves around ships. And the manufacturers are very important in their core to the gameplay and the identity of the game. And I noticed that, a lot of these very important brands didn't have that unifying vision that we were looking for. So Mirai was a new brand that we created, which was basically a performance division of MISC. So when you look at Mirai, we start off with brand and positioning, the brand bio, so a history of the brand, basically, a little bit what they're about, a tagline. So this is where, we're collaborating with the narrative team to come up with the information for this. And then that is the starting point. That's all part of the brand style guide.
A style guide is for everyone to really get to understand the company, and you try to keep it simple, but you put all the elements you need, like the logos, the colors you're allowed to use, the typography, that goes with that company, even shapes. Every company has colors. If the primary color is blue, let's say, you can't go out and do like branding for that company or make it like red, you know? So we're all trying to like tie everything together to make sure everybody's on the same page.
What's interesting about Drake is it was one of the first brands that I had to interact with when I joined the company. First thing I did was research a little bit about the brand and noticed that there was a lot of multiple versions and interpretations of the brand. That was the first one that we had to make a hard call on, you know, what this brand is and how do we define it. So Drake, we wanted to bring it in a little bit closer to the essence of the brand. It's more, not the black sheep, but the outcast, if you will, in the manufacturers. So it's always tried to get in with the big boys at Fleet Week, but it's never managed, hence why they have their defense con a little bit on the side. So we wanted to tie into that and wanted to have that, not that evil vibe to it, but that, you know, the outcast vibe, a little bit rebellious. So the black and red was an obvious choice. And it's something that we had already in the game for Defense Con, and I thought that worked better than anything else that we had previously produced. Same thing, we're looking at Crusader. We noticed that ships are using red and gray branding on the ships for Crusader. If you visit Horizon, there's a showroom that they have there that's completely all black and white. If you walk around the halls on Horizon, you notice there's some branding for Crusader that is blue and white. So we had, again, multiple interpretations of the same brand, and we wanted to unify that, bring it in a little bit more. So we started looking at the brand itself, what was interesting, what felt right with the essence that was, you know, put forward by narrative and in the lore, and also, you know, through the community. And we came up with the version of Crusader that we have now. So obviously touching these brands, you know, 10 years in on a project, there's a lot of history on the game, you know, meet some resistance, and, you know, you got to be careful and how far you go into updating the brands, even if it's for the better. It's always good to respect, you know, the work that's been done prior, but all in all, a very good experience so far, and I think we're making some good progress on a lot of these. In addition to making all the branding for you, for the players, we also make stuff for us. Working on tools as well. This one of the things that I noticed when I joined is we didn't have a proper channel to communicate to everyone freely and openly, and in a way that would, you know, encourage the devs and everybody on the different various teams to actually use these tools, these style guides, and these resources that we're creating for them. So we came up with the idea of creating a brand catalog.
So the brand catalog is for in-house, so it's the documents that will be used for all the teams, where the whole of the information for all the manufacturer brands mostly will be found. And you will have downloadable links for all the assets, so everything will become super cohesive for in-house, and also when everything comes out in-game and in marketing, everything will have the same, all the manufacturer brands will have the same look and feel.
So we, starting it off with the manufacturers, obviously, they are front and center, but it will grow into, you know, all the rest of the brands that we see in the universe. Pyro was, I think, is one of my favorite mandates we've done so far for the branding team. Not only because we're touching a specific aspect of branding that is not often talked about, also because we have the right team members to tackle this sort of mandate, and it was a lot of fun for it because the team was really excited about that.
Graffiti is another part of my background, which me and Max worked a lot on this aspect back in the days in our life. So we had a lot of fun building the graffiti structure. Each graffiti style were really existing graffiti style from around the world, and we had to reproduce as much accurately possible the tags, throw-ups, murals, or any aspect of the realness of graffiti, which that was a lot of fun.
Basically, like, we drew all the graffiti, and we made their space look really grimy, and the signage, you know, the relic signage, but lots of graffiti too. Lots of like faded, dirty layers and layers of stuff on the walls.
So it was really amazing to see how they took some visuals that existed that the environment team had created, and they came in and went over this with the different graffiti. So they really developed like all the layers that you need for it to feel real.
That was something that is very rich and is extremely fun to bring forward with the visuals and the branding. And at that point, it's more than branding. It becomes like storytelling, basically. Right? You're telling a story through all the elements that you're putting on the walls and in the environment that help sell the lore and, again, augment immersion and the experience for the player. Defining the factions that we found in Checkmate Station by the Rough and Ready was a lot of fun. Creating the identity of a faction, a gang, right? In space, in a derelict, abandoned station in the middle of nowhere.
I think you really get a vibe when you get there. When you enter the zone, like right away you know it's Rough and Ready. They made the logo like a big sculpture, so I thought this was pretty cool from like where it started to where it's at now. I think the graffiti and the sculpture does it mostly.
Had the opportunity to work with the character team to define a little bit of the tattoos that go in line with the direction that we had, for the type of faction we wanted this gang to look like.
I started the brainstorm around tattoos, which were all bring a bit of like violence and of contrast on parts of the skins of the character design.
So we had specific references. We had as targets and a special feel that we wanted to have for this gang, because there's not only one gang, there's multiple, and they all need to have, each their own unique identity.
There's a part of me who always wanted to be a tattoo artist, but I think this kind of work is a work of art by itself. So the character artists really managed to bring a lot of the visual identity we started from. All the polishing was really the character artist who managed a great job.
Well, to me, I think the branding side is often looked over, and I think we're building a team here to put an emphasis on the branding side. Every little things, the little graffiti and the logos and the signage, the navigational signage, everything. I think we're trying to push it a little further.
It's all about making one step closer to the real world, which we're surrounded every day by branding and either textures, typography, everything.
I think we're the cherry on top of the sundae. I think that branding makes the whole game feel more real. And I think this is where we can also develop like this emotional connection to everything that you see in game and everything that the player uses, buys, and interacts with.
The opportunity to do graphic design and advertisement, fake advertisement within a game, so rich and deep as Star Citizen is. I don't know a graphic designer that wouldn't want to like to contribute or participate or be part of a team like this. There's so much variety. There's so much to do. The lore and the narrative is so rich. It's just a never-ending stream of opportunity to create really cool stuff.
So what did we learn this week? Well, hopefully we learned that branding is for more than just marketing uses. It's a tool and an artistry that can apply to many aspects of universe creation, including signage, personal identity, and maintaining a universe of internal consistency that doesn't break immersion. Now, don't forget that our Lunar New Year, Coramore, and the associated free fly events all start today, so you can mosey on over to the robertspaceindustries.com website for details. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week. Da, 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 da.
Dun, 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 dun.